All right, I'm starting right away.
All right then.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. We are excited to have with us our tutor for today, who by name Lengi Joshua, uh, popularly known as uh, popularly known as Dr. Hendricks, as I call him. Who'll be walking us through you know digital literacy, and I encourage everyone to stay engaged, take notes, and then um, prepare your questions to ask at the end of the session. So, without taking much of our time, please join me to welcome our tutor, Dr. Hendricks. Over to you, sir, Dr. Hendricks. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ben, for this very wonderful, introduction. We had a class last week where you walked us through research fundamentals, which was very exciting. And this week I am back again. This time around, presenting was digital literacy, uh, session 02, which is titled "Building Our Digital Toolkit for Every Researcher's Need." Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ligidan Joshua, and I'll be walking us through our topic for today, which I've just introduced, which is digital literacy, and it's all about building the toolkits every researcher currently needs to proceed, build, and collaborate on research. Let me get ahead with share my screen very quickly. All right then, I'm currently sharing my screen now. Dr. Ben, just confirm if you can see my screen to file me.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right then. So I believe it is and is for others. All right then. So we were talking about digital literacy, building the digital toolkit every researcher needs. Um, I like to start with the premise from Alvin Toffler actually. He said, and I quote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." Life is basically scaled down to these three things. You first start learning, and then you unlearn some things that you've known before, and then you relearn the new things. Opinions change every day, technology changes every day, new things are coming every day, and everything about life has been scaled down to these three basic things. You have to learn, then unlearn some new things because new opinions changes, technology changes, and life moves very fast. And then you have to relearn to bridge yourself. We're going to fire on with the class with just after this premise. So what we're going to be covering today in approximately 110 minutes may be over or not up to, but we'll try to keep the time. I believe that life's about progress, and if life's progressing, there's always a before, and then there's always an after. We'll look at the before and after of research, and then we're going to talk about Google Workspace. We're talking about digital literacy. Google Workspace is an open suite of tools that Google has provided us. We're going to look at that. And then we're going to look at cloud storage and collaboration. As a researcher, you've got to know how to collaborate. You've got to know how to use cloud native technologies to supercharge your research. And then we're going to look at data management and portfolios. During research, you work with data, which is the most important source of every research. And how do you manage your portfolios? Then finally, we're going to talk about AI in research. Like I just mentioned, it's about learning, unlearning, and relearning. AI in research, it is one of the new native things we have currently in our time. And we have to learn or unlearn some certain, things that we have known about research before. And, how do we bridge these things or these particular, sections of previous research with how AI has, influenced progresses moving forward. We can look at that and the key tools as well. Um, the before and after. starting with the before and after. And the first, which we'll be looking at, is finding literature. How we're able to find, articles, resources, and all that you need to work on your research. Here's a very short note. Imagine it is 1995. You are a 300 level physics student at the University of Jos, and your project supervisor says, go and review the literature on semiconductor properties in solid state physics. Now, as a student, where do you go? Your most attainable option at the time would be to walk into the main camp library at the Boucher campus, the main camp library. You're going to queue at the card catalog, and then you scribble through some call numbers on a piece of paper, because a card catalog, it's an alphanumerical arrangement of resources that are contained in the entire library. And then whenever you've started from the card cataloging section, you then go finding your resources or journals or textbooks or whatever resources that concerns your research on the shelves. Now, half of the materials you need are either missing or outdated, or they have been loaned out by someone who has not returned them back yet. Now, the ones you manage to find, the pages have been torn out. Now, you would have to manage getting a photocopy because you don't want to loan. And getting a photocopy would cost you at the time, 20 naira was a lot of money, or maybe 5 naira at the time was also a lot of money. And then you spend days trying to trace your references from the papers to another, from the ones you were even lucky to lay your hands on. 3 weeks later, you have lots and lots and lots of piles of paper. You have tired eyes and a sore back because you have spent hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours on the process. But today, things are very different. Today, you have a laptop and then you have a phone. Your phone is equipped with a hotspot. I don't know any phone that is not equipped with a hotspot. You can connect your phone to your laptop and you can go literally anywhere, deep hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles online. You can do the same literature review in one weekend. In fact, with the resources we have today at our disposal, a couple of days and you're good to go. This is what this session is about. This is what we're going to be talking about today. How do we save time? Technology makes life very easy, but it is very stupid to us if we're not going to accept the developments that we have at our disposals to make life very easy for us. It's about reclaiming our weeks and days and months that we spend in research back to us. Now, like I mentioned, there's always a before and then there's always an after. That's only how you know that development has happened or development has taken place. Now, before, in terms of finding literature, like I mentioned earlier, you walk into the library, queue at the card catalog or at the microfiche section, and then you try to get some physical journals where you lay hands on, or maybe you try to get a loan, or get the library loan you a book, and you have promised to return those books back in 6 weeks. That was what happened before. But now you have Google Scholar at your disposal, equipped with 200 million papers and plus, and papers every day, nothing less than 100 papers are accepted. For final publishment, get nothing less than 10 to 15 by the end of every week, which means by a couple of years from now, 10, maybe 10 years far, in 5 years' time, Google Scholar will be equipped with more than 300 million resources. You also have Semantic Scholar too as well at your disposal, which was released by the Institute of AI, Allen Institute of AI. It uses AI to surface you the most influential people you can ever. This is what we had before. Secondly, again, in terms of finding literature, then you depended on a physical library that is owned by an institution if you want to do a well and meaningful research. Now, you don't have many of these libraries in Nigeria, unfortunately. That was then. But now you have your phone that takes you, I don't know, it's just by the grace of God, that you wouldn't go as far as you can go because we have thousands of resources online that you can consult by yourself. And you can also find credible research that have been cited by, other researchers that helps you trace your citations back to one click. This is what you have now. You also have online libraries where you can even buy books. People can even send you books. You can pre-order books. I bought a book. Dr. Ben also bought a book from his home at Maycam. He placed an order, and his book was flown from wherever it was to Jos and we built to him. But then, if it was before, that need to go to a library where the book will be sold. Hopefully, the, the library finds it very, intuitive or very, very beneficial to people who will be reading it and buy it and keep it. But that's not what we have now. Life has gotten very easy. And then again, it costs you money to print the research. It costs you money to print. In fact, currently, at the current times now in Nigeria, people still do some of these old practices, although this cannot become 100% obsolete. But I think it has gotten better, right? Because most papers are now open source. If you find a particular paper or a particular project that you're interested in, you don't need to go print the entire thing. It costs you lots of money. But now you have open access papers accessible to you freely. In fact, the University of Jos or many institutions, not just the University of Jos, has made it also very easy for students to access even papers behind paid walls, right, for free because the school has paid for these things. So this is how easy, you know, research has gotten, right? Things are coming to our doorstep. It's not like before. So that's the before and after. And there are literally more, but these are like the most scaled down, most influential before and after, progress and development that has been made in terms of finding literature. Now, how was research life then? And how is it now? Now, there's an important reality check. There was a paper in 2025 that was peer reviewed by, a particular journal, which is the International Policy Brief Journal, February 2025, that was specifically scaled down to research in northwestern, Nigeria institutions. It found that 26.92% of all the surveyed students in the northwestern, part of the country use their phones daily for 5 to 6 hours. Also, the Nigeria Communications Commission, they, these guys' journals also cited a review or a report they made. And according to NCC, only 35% of Nigerians are actually on the internet or actually have internet access, despite 90% coverage. The coverage means that the few number of people who have internet access have wider coverage. That is, they can access resources from socials to news platforms to research platforms. The coverage is much, despite 90% coverage, with just 35%. And working by an assumption of the 200 million population, the 35% means 70 million. 70 million Nigerians have actual internet access, and with 200 million, which means that 230 million people don't have internet access. This is a very wide gap that needs to be bridged. The gap is so wide, it's not even up to one sixth of the entire population, which is still very, 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 very low. So I consider even those who on this call today to be one of the most informed, the most privileged minority, because we are on this call today by virtue of technology. Then you had town criers that roam around the streets to inform people of whatever that's happening. And you have telegraphs, you had letters waybill from one state to another, mails which took literally days to receive. But we can count ourselves as an informed minority. It's not a very good statistics to be happy about, but I think the country needs to do better, and we're getting there hopefully. Now, before and after, as regards storing and organizing files, as we can recall, we had floppy disks. My father had a disk where floppy disks, a machine that processed, contents from floppy disks before. We also had CDs. You don't get to have see them too often, but they're still around. And you also had USB sticks. USB sticks is just your flash drive, as you all know. Now, data in this, devices can easily be corrupted, or your USB flash can get stolen. These things were very common, were very they were very not so common. So if someone sees you with the flash, then it's something very big and ideal, and your flash could even get stolen. Or there were viruses then, because most Windows operating systems, they were still tightening their security app, and you could just plug your USB flash to someone's computer, and then it is affected by virus. That was then. But now you have your Google Drive. If you register a new phone or a new account on Google, you actually create a new account, and then you verify your phone number. Google gives you 15 gig free space, easily affordable. Every Android, most of the world population uses Android, right? And this is an app that comes pre-installed. So every Android phones by default contains Google Drive. It's at your disposal. And Google Drive, it is the default storage for our Gmail, for our photos. You also have OneDrive. OneDrive gives you free gig, 5 free gig per 100 gig on users. OneDrive is common to Windows native users, those who use Windows operating system. You have OneDrive as your default cloud storage. You also have 300 Microsoft 365 of tools, and we have Notion. Now, Notion is not so. I think in this part of the world, it's not so very, common, but it's been used, in the western part of the world very much, and it gives you unlimited blocks, which means you can create as much as many workspaces as you want and as you can afford. This is what we have now. CDs had a very sort of common problem where you could maybe a movie or maybe a documentary about the research was uploaded to a CD that is 2 gig of space. And now the common problems you face with CDs, and I think all of us can resonate with that, you know, they don't like scratches behind because they sort of use some sort of like magnetic tips. And these scratches means that the content across the surface of that particular CD has been altered. Maybe you may be playing at 15 seconds because of those scratches you have behind your CD plate. You may just keep something like 2 minutes or 3 minutes if the disc is badly battered. Your entire content of 40 minutes can play in 2 minutes. This is how easy it was for your data to get corrupted. Now again, these devices means, like I mentioned about the flash, you could easily get stolen. But now if you upload your files to your Google Drive, just your resources can sync between devices. By sync, I mean synchronize. Now, this is, let me give like a common example. I have Google Drive on my phone and also have it on my PC. If I upload something on my PC, it actually gets synchronized with the same account that I have on my phone. That's what synchronization means. So, which means even if someone steals something from me, someone's maybe someone stole your device or your flash, you could actually have the same files that have been stolen from you on your Google Drive, right? You may have lost your device, but your work is secure. That's the before and what we have now as regards storing and organizing our files. Now, again, in terms of document naming and file changes, now we have just completed your research, and the title still doesn't make sense to your supervisor, and he says, "Go change this title, name it something else." The particular page title, the last chapter, something else, subtitle, something, which means you would have to scrap whatever you have then, reprint a new document reflecting these changes that have been cited by your professor or by your supervisor, which was pain in the neck. But now, with digital copies, you can actually rename your documents painlessly without even needing, to print anything per corrections. This is how easy digital, and I cannot underestimate the efforts that have been put by those who have made this, technologies free accessible to us. So you can easily keep changes, and have the edited version that you're working on. Edits can keep coming in, and you can rename your versions. I'll show us about this, versioning of documents, how you can rename versions on Google Docs. You can have, we're going to talk about collaboration where we see how more than 100 users can collaborate on the same document. how versions can be, renamed and all of these things. It helps us, it's gonna help us, collaborate well and very easily without, causing problems. Now, how was collaboration then before? You have four supervisors, or maybe you have four people, external examiners or internal, examiners who will be examining your project, and they just inform you to print 4 copies, or maybe 5 copies. If there are 10, you print 10 copies and distribute to all the group members plus the supervisors, if at all, you know, they don't want to save you some sort of cash. This was very, very, very expensive. Everything about research then was expensive because you needed money to do many things. But now these days, you have Google Docs. You can easily send your work to your supervisors. They can open it on their tablets, on their systems. As it presents, they just keep scrolling through. It was very easy, very, very, very easy. Collaboration was very easy. It was very hard then. But now, collaboration is easy because on the same Google Doc you're working on, your supervisor can make you a correction, say correct this, or add a suggestion. Dr. Ben was making an application some times back, and there were like 2 reviews. The first reviewer will make comments on the particular section. I can also come and double on the suggestions that have been made. It was very, very easy. I don't need to print how many copies and give someone to. It doesn't work. And on Google Docs, you can have up to 100 people editing the same document, one document simultaneously. Let me show us a practical demonstration because this class is, you cannot talk about visualizations without, practicality. Now, this is a table of corrections for a thesis that has just been passed. I mentioned about collaboration. If I have multiple people working on a document, you can see all the accounts of those people, reflect here. And in terms of versioning of document, now this document has been, altered a couple of times by myself. Um, Yeah, so you can see. So these are all the times I edited this document. Now, if you have maybe these are like 3 people or 4 people working in a document, I can decide yesterday when I was like trying things out, I named this Hendrix version. Maybe you have the second, collaborator who's also working on editing the same document, can rename this version to, you know, can rename this version to like Ben's copy or Ben's version for easy identification, right? Because if you want to see, okay, what have been your contributions to your team, you can actually come and access. Now, if I click on it, I can see the edits that were made by Ben. If I click on this particular version, I can see the changes that were made because the document is not the same at every point in time. It has been altered. So all these versions can be renamed. This is how collaboration really is. Now, if you want to make a copy, maybe your supervisor said, send me your own, contribution, maybe working on a group project. Ben can just say, okay, I want to make a copy of my own contributions on that same document. As you can see, one document, but different versions exist. And these versions exist forever. Now, the new document is loading. This is Dr. Ben's copy of his, corrections or contributions that have been made. On one single document, nothing has changed. Now, you can also decide that Dr. Ben has not done much, or maybe another person has not done much. Let me restore back his version. Let me restore what he has done to the original copy, and I can restore this version. Easy peasy. This is how technology has made collaboration very, very easy and less painful. We proceed. Now, group meetings before you had been invited, maybe a professor from the University of Jos has just been invited by a professor in University of Lagos to come participate in, some grants, ceremonies, or maybe, a convocation ceremony where he will also be presenting a paper. He has to travel down to Lagos, which is not safe at our current times now. Then it was very safe, but then it costs you some sort of comfort, discomfort. But now also it has been made so much easy that technology has made it necessary that whenever something is happening somewhere else, like this call we're having now, we are not in the same room. I'm in my room making this presentation. You are somewhere else watching this presentation. Only with the help of digitization, it has been made possible by It has been made possible by the Google Meet we have at our disposal, by the Zoom we have at our disposal, or the Google Docs we have at the disposal, or the shared folders you have with you on Drive at your disposal. So very easy. You also have WhatsApp groups. Now, WhatsApp was the original founders of WhatsApp was, I think, BlackBerry. They were the original founders of WhatsApp. The real idea of BlackBerry or WhatsApp came from BlackBerry, but it was also called something else. Now, some people who had seen the dividend of instant messaging, they were like, we can actually bring something. It it text is a bit too vague sometimes. Texting is a bit too vague sometimes, and then other means that existed then were also painstaking. But these businessmen and researchers saw an opportunity. BlackBerry was not utilizing the technology they had inbuilt then. Decided to come up with WhatsApp, and in about 2014, Facebook finally bought WhatsApp. But then, if you drop something very important on your WhatsApp group, you can come back just 1 hour later and find 1,000 messages on top of your message. It's very hard to share, you know, information. But then, the call to this link was dropped. One link gives you access to hundreds and hundreds of sub documents. This is how collaboration and digitalization has made collaboration very easy. Now, how do you manage references before and now? Before you type your references, your reference list, um, missing commas can actually cause you your marks because your research has no tolerance for mistake, right? You may have been, debating, do I use the upper reference style or do I use, the Harvard, you know, referencing style? But these things were very, 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 very hard. And mind you, you had no digitization or digital tools then to where you can just easily go browse online to clear your confusions. You still have to do really hard resources to clear your confusion. So it was very hard. Research was everything about research then. In fact, everything about life, including research and everything, was very, very hard. Now, the theory is an open source, tool. Open source means that the whole, code and the licensing is open to anybody who can replicate or rebuild or make better Zotero for their own use. So now I can decide to say, okay, I want to build Zotero. I want to rebuild Zotero with some city features only for University of Jos. They will give me the license. It's open source. That's what open source means. Open source helps products build very fast and very keen because the culture in America, as regards research, may not be the same as the culture in Nigeria, right? So that's it. That's what open source means. And it was, released or it was founded from the George Mason University. On the third, one click alone, if you click the particular, section where, citations and references are, it's equipped with about 7,000 citation style. 7,000. With just simple clicks, you can convert your reference style to whatever citation style you need. Just so easy and as easy as anything. And you can also export this work, which have integrations to your Microsoft Word, to the Library Office. Library Office is an open source tool that it is native to Linux distribution or the Google Docs by Google itself. That's how technology has made referencing and citation very easy, very very easy. With just simple clicks, you can convert your work to whatever citation and reference system that you need. We also have many tools as well, and tons of other enterprise tools which have further made research very 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 easy and managing references and citations. Again, like I talked about, switching from the Harvard to APA, it meant something that you would have to retype your work then. But now just clicks, you can convert your work to any referencing style or citation style that you know that you want or that corrections have been made in. If you forgot to cite something, it's plagiarism because you cannot include a claim in your work, start pointing to its source, right? So you have to cite every single opinion you have drawn from another paper in your work. Now, rotation, Zotero again also helps you store the PDFs that you use where you're making your citations from. Zotero is very, very nice. We'll have a class on Zotero alone and how to manage these things. Dr. Ben will take us a class on that. So subsequently, in the future. Now, the before and after, we're still talking about the before and after of what, tech, citing the development and the progress research has made in the past. Now, how do you build your research profile? When I was reading about this first particular point was very, very funny because it says your reputation is a paper seed in your HOD, you know, it's a reputation in your HOD's locker or your HOD's drawer, which is very, very funny. Now, before, if people ask you, okay, maybe you go meet somebody, tell them you need a job, they ask you, bring your CV, and you know where that CV is going to. It's never going to see the light of the day again. Never, ever, ever. But today, what do we have? We have what we call OSID ID. OSID means Open Researcher Contributor ID. Now, OSID gives you a 16-digit permanent alphanumeric identifier that follows you for life. It's permanent and unique to you. Now, we may have Lenge D. Joshua from Nigeria, University of Jos, Plateau State. You may also have another, Benjamin Lenge D. So now this OSID ID helps uniquely identifies you with the other Lenge D that exists somewhere. Right. Let me show us what this OSID means. I already signed into my, OSID platform, and it helps uniquely identifies the researchers, contributors, and collaborators. Now, whenever you want to submit your manuscript, this is the OSID ID. This is the 16-digit alphanumeric ID here. Whenever you want to submit your manuscript, sometimes it is being asked. Yeah, it is being made mandatory. Some journals will never publish your work if you don't have this ID. And on this platform, now how this OSID ID works is that you can have this ID linked to other projects that you have on different journals. But once you come here, this ID helps pull your resources into one single piece, into one platform. Now, if maybe I was going through a professor's profile in MIT, and she has 217 or 18 thereabout published research. 200, you know, 17. I'm not sure of the number, but it's more than 217. Now, if she has this OSID ID, you can actually get her ID, which is unique to her, but nobody can duplicate it. You can also get her ID and try to like search for her own ID and see all the papers and journal or texts that are linked to her. And if you give someone this ID, you're just giving them your entire profile, your entire research profile. So many research organizations will request this ID from you. So you should try your best and register. Now the thing is, when I was registering this, I used my institutional email, which is this. I use my institutional email, which is this. Using your institutional email gives you access to some sort of resources because the university itself is a partner with this organization. The University of Jobs, is a partner of this organization. So when you easily type your institutional email, the registration process becomes very easy and gets you in very quickly. So that's what the OSID ID really is. So now, before, instead of, printing your CV, trying to show someone your work where they wouldn't even, take it into, you know, consideration, you can actually get this ID, submit your manuscripts with this ID, or also link some part of your work that didn't have this ID at times of publishment, and you're good to go. Now, again, to be discoverable before, you had to print your journal and then hope and pray that somebody reads it. But now things have changed. You can build, if you're a developer, you can build your research, you can build your research profile by yourself, like I'm building mine personally. I'll host it very soon. You could also use Google Sites. So also, it's a no code, environment that allows you, just drag and drop to add content and build just with one click. Let me also show us how Google Sites looks like. Google Sites. It's very low code, easy to use. Publish in just 10 minutes. You can just put something out about yourself. So this is how Google Sites looks like. Let me try Google Sites for just sign in. All right then. So I may want to. So let me just use some very templates like some. Let me just click on this my portfolio. I was just sampling things out. So you could just drag and drop tools here. These are like images that are uploaded. I can also add a particular picture here, or I may set to okay, yeah, or maybe add an image. Let me click on add anything. Let me just add anything. Or what do I add? What's this? I think this is okay. This is a conversation I screenshotted. But then let me still go back and show us. There's no time to you know work on some drag and drops now. Let me just show us these family updates. So this is a pre-template that has been worked on already, right? You could also decide to just drag and drop some of these tools you have here. These content blocks. You have a lot of tools here. Just put together something very quickly using Google Sites, right? And put together something just very quickly. Now, this is somebody that has just done this. You can then decide to publish this and can just name it maybe family. Family has been taken. What is family else? Oh my god, what am I doing? Let me just use any word that is unique and publish. Now with this, you don't need to be a developer, you don't need to pay anybody money somewhere. There's no way you would submit this and it will be disregarded. Oh, it has been published already. All right, because it published the comes with an return to editor. Okay, review, recent changes and publish. Was it taking time? Oh yeah, I already published this before. Oh, I don't know where the link is. Yep, I'd already published this because I was trying things out before. Let me try to publish another one to see how the published one looks like. Let me publish this one portfolio. Hi, this well, you can actually use this too as well. Hi, my name is Lenny Joshua. I am a student from University of Jos, Nigeria. And you could just this is template that has been worked already. Right, let me see if I can publish this. I name it something, whatever this name is. Completion. It's gonna give me a link so you can view your published site here. I can just click on it. So as you can see, this has been published. Now, if you have money, you can buy a domain that says instead of sites.google, it's your name. Maybe Dr. Hendricks or Dr. Ben at you know google.com, something like that. So this is how things work. Right. So it's a low code site builder for your research. You also have LinkedIn. LinkedIn puts you at the front and thousands of I think as at 2025, as just last year, there are currently 1.7 billion accounts on LinkedIn. So having an account there will also puts you before 1.7 billion you know, active accounts on LinkedIn. You have recruiters there, you have founders there, you have established researchers there, you have all that you need there on LinkedIn. You also have Google Scholar profile. There are lots of you know, platforms that we have at our disposal now that puts us there. You just need to find them and make good use of them. Like you can start with Google sites, just try to play things around. You can also have LinkedIn. I think as a researcher, it is unforgivable and a sin to not have a LinkedIn account. Right. So let's take note and put these things to consideration. As an established researcher coming up, Google Scholar should be your first goal. Right. Founders then had no easy access to verify their work. But today you have the National Insurance for Health, you have the FCT, you have this cross rev DOI publishers. You cannot publish your work if you don't have a digital object identifier. It's impossible. Every document has it. Every document has it. So this is the before and after. And you could actually provide this DOI, number or code to whoever wants to verify that you have actual papers published. And this also helps you get grants like that OID too as well, like your OSID ID. It's also another way to help verify your work, a pool of your work, like a pool of resources you've laid your hands on. So there are tons of resources. We just need to take time. So learning about these things. So yeah, bottom line. So every hour or every time you spend learning all of these tools, it is you saving yourself in the future 10 hours for your final year projects, 100 hours for your MSc project, and who knows, research, in the US as regards PhD, sometimes it's not less than 4 or 5 years, which is thousands of hours. Learning these tools will save you really your work because I think it's still not wisdom. Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. It is not profitably in a good direction of your wisdom. If you still want to do things the way they were done now, while we have thousands of established digital resources at our disposal to make life very easy. Anthropic conducted um, a research in 2024, and they actually reviewed like 1 million anonymized Claude AI conversations. If you go to Claude.ai, they always scale down the research to people who actually ask things that regard education alone, and they were able to filter these conversations to 574,740 academic relevant conversations only. And approximately 47% of student AI conversations are very direct. That is, can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about the laws of physics? Can you tell me about the Robert Hooke's law, laws of elasticity, or Ohm's law? Very direct conversations. Means that so what is direct means, like I'm just explaining, but still it means that students were already using these tools without lecturer's approval. Whether lecturer approves it or not, they were using it. I don't need lecturer to tell me go and seek clarity on understanding Maxwell equations or understanding what quasar cables are. Lecturer does not need to tell me. I actually know that I need to take help somewhere. And these AI models, their knowledge bases are very, very large. Like Claude Opus 4.7, the most one of the most powerful models that exists today, was trained on 1 trillion data points. 1 trillion data points. That's very, very large. It's like the entire internet has been scraped. There's nothing you ask Claude today that it has no response to. And so does applies to other models. So I mean, the longer we wait for the adoptions of these tools, the more paining it is to us. Like I've said in the opening statement of a bottom line, investing your time in learning these tools saves your hours. I've been spending my time in the past weeks alongside Dr. Ben as well, learning the ethical use of Claude and how to use it for your research. And I discovered that there are tons and tons and lots of things. There were some researchers, I got to their GitHub on how they are using Claude to supercharge their research. And I can tell you, you'll never beat them because they are supercharging their research by 10x, 10 times what you're doing, just by accepting that, technology can help you scale bigger, better, and faster. That particular thing, that particular, GitHub account contains something we call skill. Claude has something called skills. Now you write skills. Skills is it's a way to provide additional context to Claude to help you get what you want. And those people have been able to create a GitHub account that contain that hundreds and hundreds of these skills as regard research. Now you may want to be looking for a citation where somebody said this thing will never work, and you want it like I've just said it. This method will never work. Using benzoic acid would never work, or using N-hexane would never work, or using ethanol for solvent extraction as a means of solvent extraction would never work. That skill can point to hundreds of papers that said the same thing, right? So we need to accept that digitalization is before us and not feel shy for using it to supercharge our work. They said it's either you learn or perish. The business people are very ruthless with saying this. They said either you innovate or die, and innovation always been winning and has won. That's the before and after. Now, getting deeper into hands-on, this session will be more hands-on, where we're looking at Google, Workspace. That's the first one of like the next on our checklist. So Google Workspace is a suite of tools that Google has been able to provide to us. And when they were releasing these tools, they didn't release these tools because they said want these tools to be used for research now, but we have been able to find these tools relevant to supercharging our research. Now, there's something very, we start with Google Drive, then we have Google Docs. We also have Google Sheets that helps us, in computation and statistical operations. We also have Google Forms for collecting responses and, helps you in surveys. Now, you don't need to print those survey forms people normally give to people, travel institutions in Nigeria, just to get people responses, which was very painstaking. Now with your Google form, you can create, columns, you can create rules or questions, send it across institutions, and you get people who are willing to take time. Even if you just get 100 responses from every university in Nigeria, it's a lot of responses by the time you put them together, right? And you can also export the statistics. You can export the statistics of everything you have in your Google Form to your Google Sheet, as they have very fine integration. And we've talked about Google Sites as well. And we'll look at Google Drive. There's something about Google Drive that I think we haven't seen, but may not have known what it is and how to go about it or use Google Drive. Where my Google Drive? All right. Let's see it here. So let it load. So this is how my Google Drive looks like, right? I have we can see tons of resources, but we don't know how to organize these resources, which resources are actually mine, which are actually shared with me. So if I come to my drive here, I get the actual resources that I created by myself. As you can see, the owner, it's me. So if you click on your drive, it shows you every document, every resource you've ever created by yourself on your own account. As you can see, all by me, and there are more, right? If I click, so they just recently introduced projects. Projects help you organize. Maybe you're working on, like the way it sounds. If you have a project, they just added this to help you scale down the files and resources you need in one place instead of creating a project and creating files by yourself. This particular structure has been defined for such purpose. Now, if you click on computers, like I mentioned about the synchronizations of data on one platform, maybe I also have my account on my phone, and then I upload the document on my phone. I also want to see it here on my PC. I can just own the synchronization. The file that I upload on my phone will get synchronized with what I have here on my PC. And that's what this computer does. Like this is what this particular filter here does. It syncs, resources from all devices, right, under one section. Shared with me, these are resources that have been created by someone, but because you have edit access, or maybe you made a suggestion on someone's document, or maybe you made some comment on someone's document, it's gonna appear here or shared with me. As you can see, it was shared by like this particular document, stage 5, HNG stage 5 result, sheets, grading. It was shared by somebody called Sophia, right? Um, and so you have it here. These are like all shared by different people, and these are their emails. So emails are mostly public, so it's not, emails are very secure. So you can have someone's email, you can message them if you want to talk to them about anything. These are all influential people here, right? Just saying actually. If I click on recent, so I've just explained what shared with me is. Shared with me are documents that you do not create by yourself, but someone gave you access to them. Now, these documents, I'll have access to them, and that's why they are here on my PC. Easy peasy. So recent just shows you it's just a filter of the document maybe opened in the last 1 day or 2 days. If you have documents, your drive can be filled with tons and tons of documents, but you want to scale down to the most important, you can actually start them. Like I've started all of these documents. I've started all of them. Like you see this particular um I just automatically start. Yeah, I click on this. Yeah, I click on it. It's a bit slow. I don't know. Good. Oh, sorry, he call came in. All right, so I've just started this document. If I go back to my, drive and I refresh, I would find this document that I've been started. Here, this is another filter for spam. So if someone sends you an email or someone shares you a document, email on your contact list, it may come here. This is a privacy setting to ensure that people don't, overload you information you don't need, right? Then trash is also a filter for documents that you don't need anymore, that you want to do away with. And then storage, like I mentioned earlier, you get by default 15 gig free space on every Google account. But yeah, I mean, I'm a man of many activities and many documents. I'm paying subscriptions to some accounts because I've exceeded their 15 benchmark. I'll be exceeding. I have 5 terabytes of speed actually. This is my Google um Drive account because your photos are stored in your Google Drive, emails are stored here, pictures are stored here, Google Photos pictures are stored here. Tons of resources are stored in your Google Drive. It's a cloud native, you know, first layer storage that we have at our disposal. So that's everything about Google Drive. So if you need more space, if 15 gig of space is no longer enough for you, um, you click on more storage there, come back here. Like I'm actually on the pro account. That's why I have 5 terabytes of space on my account currently. And there's a particular friend of mine was telling me how she mistakenly, not even mistakenly, because she had, added her card for, some of these subscriptions. They deducted this amount which she did not plan to pay. If you need more space, you can actually pay and expand. Now the next one they want me to upgrade because I'm on 5 terabyte, they want me to upgrade to 10 terabytes of space. I'm not there yet where I have lots of resources to use. So that's just everything about Google Drive. And apart from that, you can actually create different content. You can actually create your Google Docs. Every doc you create is stored on your drive. Every Google Sheet document you create is also stored on your drive. Because we're going to talk about this very quickly to see how it looks. So Google Sheets is used for statistical operations and computations. Um, we're just going to look at this very quickly. Like here, you can add comments if you're working on it. Maybe if you're collaborating on documents, you can add a comment. Maybe I want to add a comment, say this field is something else, something, something else. Mind you, this comment you can add it on other documents. So you can add it on your you can add it on your docs, like I have here. Yeah, I can add it here. I can come here and add a comment and say change this. So this is how change this to something else, something else, right? You can add suggestions or make comments on any part of the document, any part of the document. You can also make suggestions too as well. Where do you make that suggestions? Okay, so it depends on the access, on the privileges that I have. You can actually share a document and grant only suggestion, you know, um, um, suggestion and privilege. Oh, this is not created by me originally, so I can't grant those permissions. But if the document is created by me specifically, I can grant suggestion permissions, which means someone cannot edit or change something you have made before, but it can only make suggestions for you. So that's everything about Google Sheets. I've talked about Google Forms. Yeah, and this. So I earlier mentioned that we have Drive, which is native to every Android device, and OneDrive, which is native to Windows operating systems, and Notion, which is neither of the two. It's just a product from another company itself. And most of the times by default, Google Drive is the go-to for anyone. But if you're on Windows, you can actually utilize your OneDrive. But then if you want unlimited research brain, maybe you're working on needs that needs 1,000 collaborators and they cannot, and you don't want limits to how many workspaces you can have. You can use it as a research brain. It is very, very, very good with that. So this is just how you know, cloud storage. That is the first layer which we have. We have other cloud storages as well, like those are for enterprise businesses, like Google Cloud, AWS services. You have what's your name? You have Microsoft Azure. These are all different cloud storages, right? But the ones that are easily accessible to us for use are just basic three. Now, it's not enough to store your document on cloud native technologies. How do you ensure backup? Because in as much as these technologies are safe, you still need your own safety. So, a particular photographer called Peter Crow, he wrote the book in 2005. He stated his own personal ways of backing up his documents. The United States Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency found this very insightful, and it's called the 3-2-1 backup rule. It says three copies of your data, right? It says have three copies of your data, the original plus two backups. The two backups can be on Notion or can be on OneDrive or can be elsewhere. Then two different storage medias. Storage medias, these are like storage devices, maybe a flash drive or your laptop hard drive or an external hard drive plus the cloud. Two different storage medias. It can either be a laptop hard drive or an external drive, or maybe a flash, or maybe plus the cloud. Then have one copy that does not that has not been uploaded somewhere. So you see, the old way of doing things is not, and it still has its own importance. That is the last resort of your backup. If everything else fails on cloud native, how do you go? Or what do you fall back to? The one copy of site. This is something you keep or you have kept somewhere in your home safe. That's in fact it has proven the best most of the times. Someone lost his keys to a digital a digital wallet, and the keys have gone missing. The account through which those keys were saved, you can't recall the password. But because he had those keys written on a paper somewhere in his home, he was able to trace them back. And fortunately, he found some of those inside his wallet. I was also reading the tweet just last couple of weeks back where Claude also helped someone crack a Bitcoin wallet. This is how technology has moved very, very, very fast. So we can actually take this backup rule into practice and ensure that our documents are safe, maximally safe. Now, collaboration, how research teams work. Now, on all of the Google Suite accounts and products that I've shown like Google Forms, Google Docs, Google Sheets, you can have collaborations. Up to 100 simultaneous edits can be made to a document. One Google Doc alone. You can add cursors, you can see different cursors, you can see who's typing what and when. From the versions like I've showed us, right? Live editing. It means that many people are editing a document at the same time. Then comments can be made. Also on the document, I've also shown how comments can be made. I've also told you about the suggestion mode. And then the version history, which is the most important thing. You make a change, a version of it is snapshotted. Snapshots is a term that is used, in computer science to mean that a particular history of a particular event has been saved or has been here or has been captured and saved for future reference. So this is how collaboration should work ideally in teams. If you are working on research and it's a co-research, you don't agree with your friend and what he's saying, you must not remove everything he has said. It doesn't work that way. You can actually add comments or suggestions or create your own version and say, oh, no, I mean, this thing, have you thought of it this way? Have you thought of it that way? Can we utilize such particular methods? Can we use NXN for this solvent extraction other than, other, solvents like ethanol and methanol that exist? You can add your suggestions and why, and the treats of very acceptable. And that's how research and collaboration should work. Not that remove it because you do not agree with him. That's not how research works. And this is how digital tools have made at the current times aided our research. Because if you don't agree with someone, you don't have to go and type the same thing and remove it later. It doesn't make sense. So now Etiquette tips for Nigerian undergraduate teams. Like I mentioned, never delete the co-worker section. You can comment on it or suggest on it instead. Always work in suggestion mode or suggesting mode when the document it is past its first draft. Now, what this means is that if you just made a proposal and by default the proposal is just a draft of the first step of research, if that draft has been accepted and passed, you can now start adding suggestions, not comments. You make comments when you want to change something. You make suggestions when you want to improve on something that is to be made. And then you have to name your sessions. User sessions have to be named before they can, be rewrite. In that way, you can lose your work, or something like I lost my work is impossible because if a particular version has been renamed, you can actually go back to that version and get it right. Or maybe if someone needs to see your contribution to a team, you cannot say, oh, the version or my contributions are missing because I can't trace to them. You can actually go back to your session or the document or the history and see everything that you worked on. These are basic tips that a lot of people still find very distant. And don't share your Google passwords with anybody or any group mates. You can share your documents and grant access permissions, edit access or viewership access, and just limit it to that. But nobody should ever request that. Oh, please give me a Gmail password. I want to help you edit your work. It doesn't work that way. You can share the document and the person can edit. Hello,
Na
can you meet your mic,
ngani
please?
a gas ba oni pa baka proto mabugin use a gas.
All right. Sorry for the noise. Let me proceed. Yeah, so that's it about the ethics or the etiquette as regards collaboration with Nigerian teams. Now, how do you organize your research as a pro? Now, some of the things that we take very trivial, it's because we think that what we're working on is not big or huge enough. Now, for example, you are a prof in your department. You are managing hundreds and hundreds of students in your research or coordinating research across faculties, across departments, across institutions, across the country, from everywhere. How do you go about a recommended, or I mean, not even within the recommendation of structure? How do you go about that? Well, because if you're just working on one research, that you think you can put everything in one folder, it doesn't work that way, right? You first start by organizing your work in such a recommended folder structure. Now we call folders in Linux distribution a directory. So if you hear someone say, can you open that directory or send me that directory? They're talking about the folder. Windows users are used are familiar with the folder. Linux distribution users, there's those who use Ubuntu, Fedora, Kali Linux, are familiar with the directory name. It's just the culture that varies. Now, you may be working on something called the anti-malarial effects of neem trees and its process and everything. You can actually name your you know the base folder in this manner. Now there's a pattern to naming this, and this is the pattern. This is the file naming convention. There's something called the epoch time. The epoch time, it is the time from now till when, or from now dating back to the exact same date that the first time or the first clock came into life or came into session, right? And it's because of that epoch time that this ISO date format has been established. You name your document in this format. Start by the year, and then the month and the date, and then the project name, or maybe start by the project, the method, or the version. Now, this .ext, this is what executable or extensible extension, right? You can have other extensions as well, like docx, doc xls for Excel, or PDF for portable document formats, PDFs that we know them as. You can have as many extensions as you intend to save your folders with. As you can see, this is anyway, see this dot xls xl sx means that this is a Google Sheet or this is a spreadsheet or a Microsoft, Excel document. So you use ISO formats. This helps your files to be sorted in a chronological order. And then you don't add spaces like this. You use underscores instead, like this. You don't add space like this when naming your project. You don't do that. You don't add spaces. You use underscores or hyphens. Um, and then you don't use special characters like semicolon or the at or the hashtag or the modulo. This is the modulo sign or the asterisk or the slash. These characters are not allowed. And then you use leading zeros and not sequences. This is a leading zero means that this number can actually flip to 10, 11, 12, and 13, and not this particular format because the computer finds it very easy to read numbers that are contained within leading zeros or this. But if you intend to use the data type called series, then like, you can actually use ones from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are like, naming conventions that makes it very easy. Dr. Ben has worked on a cleaning data on sheets. And these things are very difficult because people who don't have this knowledge just name documents in a particular format that doesn't make sense. The computer does not identify. And by the time you want to start processing and performing statistical operations, it makes it very easy for you and makes data cleaning very hard. Data cleaning is one of the most hardest jobs in data management and cleaning. Now, this is your recommended, folder structure. You have an admin. If the large projects normally have admins, those who actually organize and coordinate projects, have an admin folder using leading zeros. Now, this is what we call leading zeros, right? Now, you can have a profile or information of everybody. Maybe you have 16 admins, and the 16 admins are from different departments in the University of Jos, and information here. So, anytime you're looking for information on a particular admin, you know where to go. If you want to collate the literatures from all those departments, you know where to go. The protocol, that is the steps, guidance, and everything, you also know where to go. And so we have it, your raw data. Now, this raw data is called read only because you're collecting data, which is very, very important. Now, data is everything that makes research important. If it's not data, then research is just, I don't know if it's going to hold any value. Now, the reason why it is read only, these are like restrictions or ways of enhancing protection on proprietary data because the research will steer the direction of what that research tells at the end of the day. And you cannot have just anyone mess up your data or steal your data. Now it is locked, which means you can only steal, but you cannot transfer because maybe this particular folder contains 5 gig of the CSV files. Dr. Ben, you know what 1 MB of CSV already means. 1 MB can contain 10,000 rows. What more 5 gig? Right. I've seen data sets that contains up to up to at least 10 million rows of data, which is very, very large. Now, someone who intends to see your data, the first line approach is to plug a stick or a USB into your computer, get this file transferred. But once it is protected under heavy privacy protections like this, which is only really, the person can only see but cannot transfer. Now, these are things you should know. Processed. When you have raw data, you've worked on it, perform cleaning, that particular data has not become processed. You don't go on to find, make visualizations and figures or charts and everything, which you keep in the figures directory. Now you may have different drafts or different versions of the document or the research before final submission. You can also keep it here. Now, this does not look very important, but until something happens at a particular section or particular stage of research, you'd appreciate these structures very seamlessly. By the time you submit your work, this final submitted copy should have its own folder, different, and it should be frozen. Frozen means that that particular folder cannot be altered. If you have published the research, that final copy should be kept separately from all others and frozen in the sense that you cannot edit it again. It has already, been published. People are already getting informed by your opinion, unless something happens. or that your published paper gets to be requested to be taken down or something. In cases like that, then you have to do something about it. But keeping all things equal, your submitted or submission folder should not be altered again. And then a readme.txt. If you're a developer, you know what this thing means. A readme.txt explains everything about this project and all these folders that have been created and how to go about reading and contributing to this project and research. Now, the first thing you do when added to your research team is to find something called the readme.md for those in development, which is called Markdown. Markdown is another style of writing. As a researchers, you also have to learn that as well. You also have to learn LaTeX, how to write computationally, how to write statistically, how to write in the advanced format. We have thousands of letters that normal document processing softwares cannot write. LaTeX helps you write those. So that's everything about structuring our work like a pro. Now, how do you get discovered? I mentioned the OSID ID. OSID ID currently has about 20 million unique identifiers. If you create an ID now, the one I showed you guys, it is unique to me alone. It's a permanent research identifier to you, the researcher, to you, the collaborator, to you, the author, and to the contributor. It is worth 16 digits, as you saw mine. It distinguishes you from another person who has the suffix of your name. And it auto-populates from submissions. Like I mentioned, if at the point of submitting your manuscript, you provide this ID. Or if you go back to the database on their site, it will reupdate or repopulate or auto-populate by itself because it has ways of detecting, okay, yeah, another research has been tied to this ID. Let me pull it here for anyone who wants to see. And it persists across sessions. Now, this particular ID now, I'm creating University of Georgia, right? It was able to tell me, oh yeah, it seems your name is associated with a particular institution. If you have that particular institution email, enter it. And I did enter my institution email, and then it was able to facilitate the login, the sign up process for me. So if I decide to leave University of Jos and go to another university, maybe for my MSc or PhD abroad, this same ID will persist. It can still identify intelligently that you have left your institution because nobody you will not stay in this institution forever, right? And this has been endorsed by so many critical institutions like by UNESCO. Every 20 million, by UNESCO, over 20 million OSID IDs have been issued to researchers in every country and disciplines. And they currently have, of the 20 that have been issued out, 9 million records of IDs actively and used as of 2024. That's like just last 2 years. And now we have the Association of University Librarians in University of Nigeria's an institution. They held, an annual meeting. By annual meeting means twice a year. They are 112 at the National Open University headquarters in Abuja, 2025 last year. Exactly a time like this, almost a time like this. And they urge participants and stakeholders to implement what we call PIDs, personal IDs, to encourage researchers, academic staff, and students to register for these OIDs and integrate ROR and GUIs into their institutional repositories. Right. The communique was signed by Professor Christopher Olatukombo Okiki. He's the University Librarian at the University of Lagos. And also have the West African and Central African Research Education Network, where they won a prize in 2024-2025 for global participation in a funds grant, where they trained 15 OSID ambassadors. So these things are getting very large. Adoption of these technologies and these digitalizations they are coming to our doorstep. Like I'm telling you guys about it now. You are informed, you also tell somebody about it. And so it goes on and on and on and on and on. How do you get discovered? I mentioned Google Sites, there's LinkedIn, there's Google Scholar, and there's more, right? That's how you are able to put your academic identity online. And it takes you literally no time to have your Google Sites up. You can find a template that has been used, re-edit it. And before you know it, if you ask, share me your portfolio, share a link to your portfolio. Nobody can ever deny that. I mentioned earlier that LinkedIn has 1.3 billion users worldwide as of 2025. So having a LinkedIn account, it's one of the least things you have on a checklist as a student, right? I can't count how many opportunities we have come across just on LinkedIn alone, and many more. Now, the last phase of this, reach out and presentation, AI tools and research. Everyone is talking about AI. Now, Anthropic in 2024 again, like I mentioned, where they carried out a research on only, you know, their education reports on, anonymized, conversations on Cloud AI. They scale it down to only 504,750 academic relevant, conversations. And STEM students are the early adopters of some of these, tools, deep models. And computer science alone accounted for in the US for 38, not just in the US, but mostly in the US, this is in the US, 38.6% of conversations on Claude. 38, which is very huge for computer science students. Now, it is very staggering because computer science is just only about 4.5% of the entire US degrees. There are thousands and thousands of degrees in the US, but Claude had 38.6 percent of his conversations from computer science students, that they are only 5.4% of the US degrees, which is very, 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 very large. Now, students use AI primarily to create and improve educational content. Now, this is a quote that we got. And about 39.3% of these conversations are for like technical explanations and solutions. I cannot count how many times I've gone to Claude for solutions on Maxwell equations, which is also technical, explanations and solutions. So it's also becoming very similar to us here. Five South African universities were also, a research was also carried out, and the University of Cape Town was among Cape Peninsula University of, and found that 80% after research, knowledge bases of some of these AI models are very large. They know more than you do. You actually get an opinion. Okay, I've rephrased this particular opinion in this particular manner. How can I also rephrase it in my own way? Grammarly helps you and gives suggestions with that. 80.5, which is significant, from 5 universities have used Grammarly before or similar tools that exist, like the Quillbot writing styles and writing assistants. And also 37.3% had also used ChatGPT to answer questions. I know most of us are guilty, not guilty, but you know, have also conversed with ChatGPT before. So these tools means that they are here to stay. And as a serious researcher, you don't say I'm not gonna use AI in my research. It is very dumb. And Nigerian researchers are heavily adopting the use case. When I was reading the report, I also saw Nigeria as one of like the major users. Claude also published by regions, countries that are actually using its models. Israel is by population density. Israel is just a country of few millions of people, but they use Claude the most. They use Claude the most. It's not that interesting. It's interesting, and Nigeria is also one of the major users of Claude, but our percentage, our use is just very, very small. So we have Claude, we have Site AI, we have Semantic Scholar, Notebook LLM, there's called Elicit, Consensus, Gelos AI, and ChatGPT. Now, all these tools that we currently see on my screen now are tools that are, machine learning based, heavily powered by deep models that have been trained on trillions and trillions of data sets. Claude is very powerful. In fact, people are talking about Claude. You may not have used Claude, but by virtue of conversations you've had from people, you can know that this is something very influential. You use it to solve and write complex problems. Now, about site AI. A professor may tell you, I only work with papers that have not less than 5 citations or maybe 10 citations. Now, how do you confirm the credibility of the resources you're working with? You go to site AI and check. And now I also read a report that says in site AI, having four significant because site AI scales down it scales down what we call its relevance. That is, how credible are papers that have been cited by other people are. It scales it down to just three things. Site AI also contains more than 250 million papers. 250 million papers is a lot. And most of the papers that are on site AI, about 80%, which means that the papers are credible, which is also very significant, right? You have Semantic Scholar. You also have true. It's equipped with 200 million papers. Semantic Scholar kinds of give you, it's an AI, kinds of give you summaries of papers. TLDR means too long, didn't read, right? So if you're somebody that don't like reading, Semantic Scholar helps you because it helps gives you it like it's something that beats you to read the paper by giving you a summary. And it also has very huge citation velocity, which means that the papers Mathematics Scholar are heavily cited, which means are credible papers, which means it is somewhere very good to go. We have Notebook LLM. There's something very peculiar about Notebook LLM, guys. Notebook LLM is just so very good. Let me go to it. Notebook LLM. Notebook LLM is a RAG base. RAG base, I mean RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG base means that it's a platform that helps give you ideas, opinions, and solutions based on the resources you give to it. We have used this and Ben a lot of times and a couple of other people in research. As you can see, this is 64 fundamentals and particular mechanics. Here, for example, I'm going to show you guys um how I use Notebook LLM. Oh, this is taking time to load. I don't know why. All right, so these are like different, okay, yeah, it's loaded finally. So you come to Notebook, and I think it is one major AI, supercharged tool that everybody should lay his or her hands on. You come here, I have resources here, but I don't know why they're not reflecting. Oh, I only have one. So you come here, you can also add as many resources as you can. Whatever question you have, you can come here and ask it. Okay, I can say, tell me more. Tell me more about um article mechanics. So RAG means retrieval augmented generation means that it will use it's going to form its opinion only based on what I provided it. So which means the answer is that's provided me here and not outside of the document provided. So you're somebody who wants to study based on a fixed resource, maybe you're studying for exams, and the professor have told you focus on these 5 documents, upload those 5 documents to the book LLM. Any answer the book LLM gives you, it has been informed finally well from the resources you've uploaded to it. So if I click on this, tell me about this document, then consult outside resources to fact check what is here and fact check what is outside. So it reads from both sides, fact check what is on the web, fact check what's in the document, and then find a suitable answer that is not far from outside what is here. As you can see, it is defined as a branch of science dealing with motion and forces of objects, specifically focusing on particles that are either at rest or moving at velocities significantly less than the speed of light. That's what particle mechanics is about. So it went on and on and on to tell me things like the buoyant force, the drag force, the external force. And they also talked about the terminal velocity, which Mr. Kenneth also told us about. So the program is also very great. It's a very, very great tool. Everybody should lay their hands on it. Literally anyone. It's not an excuse. I don't think it's an excuse value to not lay your hands. You also have Elicit. Elicit also helps in literature review. And it is if you are starting your research very early, for I think everybody because we are still thinking of project ideas to work on. And literature reviews is the first goal line, or you know the the first step that we have to employ in our research. And if you check it out, it's gonna help you to have consensus. Um, you get to see yes or no answers from peer reviewed papers, and they have something called the consensus meter. This is so very powerful tool. Genius AI is like Claude for Excel. It helps in data analysis. You can upload a CSV, a very messy CSV, performs data cleaning on your behalf. You can ask it, okay, give me analysis on the analysis of variance, make box plots, perform time series analysis, and it's going to make explanations in English, plain English. Isn't it easy? And then we have the ChatGPT. ChatGPT, a lot of people refer to other models as ChatGPT because ChatGPT was the first model that was released. I had just finished ELX software engineering, and then I went to HNG to battle test my backend knowledge. And then I was in stage five, and I had senior developers or senior engineers in HNG talking about that there's a now that we have an AI model now that you can just give it your code and it's going to write the code for you again. I was very excited. I was like, wow. Now, before the before and after was that people spend tons and tons of times of the available time on Stack Overflow. You can be faced with a problem now, and within the next 2 days, you have still not solved your problem. But I can carry something called Cloud Code now. I can carry my messy code and dump it on Cloud Code. Tell Cloud Code one instruction, fix this, make an isolation environment. Cloud Code gives you back the responses. Now, Stack Overflow is dead. In fact, let me go to Stack Overflow to see how Stack Overflow looks like. Now, before Stack Overflow had their traffic was something else. Their traffic was also plumbing through the roofs. But today their traffic fell by 90%. Right? Stack Overflow is an environment, a community for developers worldwide, where people who have faced problems come to piece their solutions. As a developer, you can come here and read the I have found solutions in Stack Overflow, I cannot lie. And sometimes AI is a bit mercy. You don't know how to use AI, you'll find your way back to Stack Overflow. I can find a problem. There's no problem you're finding for that is not Stack Overflow. All right, how to build data models. This is very big, but you find at least somebody has done something. Someone has asked a question about how to build data model. Oh, human verification, I need to perform capture and all of these things. No, I don't have time for this. Oh, so tell me to perform the capture, the verification. So that's just everything about Stack Overflow as success. So this is the before and after, like I've talked about them. AI tools are here to also supercharge on the already existing tools that exist. So how do students use AI? STEM students, according to Anthropic, use about 39%. They use it a lot by 39%. Social sciences, 22%. Humanities, 16%. Health sciences, 13%. And then the 10% is to all other. So which means people in STEM and science, that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, use AI a lot. And to be very honest, it is true. It's true. Side AI has currently 1.2 billion citations. 1.2 billion is not a small number. From 200 million indexed resources. So you have 1.2 billion citations cumulatively in distinctness from just 200 million sources. So which means if you try to average things out, which means one resource or maybe one paper has not less than maybe 10 citations. Going by that, you know, um, um, um going by the statistics. Now you have, like I mentioned, side AI scales down citations to three things: mentioning, supporting, and contrasting. You want to check the credibility of the papers you're working with. Google side AI and find that paper. If it has a greater percentage of mentioning, you can go with it. If you have greater, if the percentage still sort supporting, you can actually still consider it. But if it's contrasting, run away from that paper. So take these three things into consideration, and it's going to help you. So that's how that's the use of side AI, and it is very very amazing. Now, before citing the paper, Check if four newer studies actually contradict it, then side AI actually shows you instantly. And if you have four contradictions on any study, then I don't think it's credible enough to go with. So now, how do you use AI responsibly? Now, the first thing is that you should acknowledge that you have used AI. Like the slide we currently, I'm currently using for this presentation. It was first crafted up by Claude itself. The the flyers we use for our announcement on webinars, all designed by Claude. Claude is very very good. That's very very good. I just give it the entire content of my research and presentation, asked it to create a slide for me. Before I had spent hours creating slides. I remember when I was still in digital engineering school, I spent about six hours every day for 1 week on creating my slides, cleaning it, re-editing content. But I have been able to save that time. That's what technology should do. It should save you time and channel that time to something else. Now accept that you've used AI in your work. Like Notebook LLM. If you create any content from Notebook LLM, it shows Gemini below a watermark of Gemini. That's by default, self-acceptance. Rule two, verify citations. AI can hallucinate. My brother was telling me how ChatGPT created him resources and citations that never existed. And mind you, he presented that work. And when he presented, he was presenting. Unfortunately, the supervisors didn't have their PC with them at the moment. But they were like, "Can you confirm that citation for us?" And he knew that he had done wrong by just copying citations because these supervisors sometimes they stress you and you just want to do things very quickly. You have to verify your citations and verify that they are credible ones. You don't want to work on a research that is a roadside project that has no credibility, that at the end of the day, even your name will be spoiled. So that's that's why you should, take note of, the things that you do. AI hallucinates, especially ChatGPT. It hallucinates a lot. And ChatGPT is very good in crafting citations that never exist. And you'd wonder, how does this thing do this thing with such confidence? And then lastly, research is about credibility. Never ever submit or never even have the thoughts or conceive of the thought to submit an AI written work as yours. In fact, I think if the rules are permitted, that ban it from research because your research is going to the public. People will make citations of your project. People will make form opinions of your project, and you cannot pick something from AI. AI does not have emotions. AI it's truly gives you responses based on trained data, but you have enough. Our brain is equipped with billions of neurons that enables us to think outside of the box. AI is not like that. AI has been kicked by training data, and you cannot pick a work from AI. Sometimes it looks very interesting, but if you begin to read, you discover that this thing it has spent, you'll be reading for 4 5 minutes, and everything it's saying it doesn't make sense, but it looks good from to see. So never submit AI writing as yours. It's a shame. So these are just case studies of how people, how Amaka was able to carry out her literature review, cutting it time from 8 weeks to just four. So Amaka is a biology student from University of Jos, and she needs 60 citations on her antimalarial activity of Azadirachta indica. That is the mean three. And her deadline is 6 weeks. Now, she was like, okay, how do I achieve this in 6 weeks? We in the lab today and heard some students talking about how they've not even started their literature review. So now she has Google Scholar, she search and then she check by the cited, there's a filter called cited by. You can actually name the editions and then the filters you want. And then she was able to get 200 papers from Google Scholar. Then she goes to Semantic Scholar because she cannot read all the 200 papers. Like I mentioned, Semantic Scholar is very good with giving you AI reviews. TLDR means too long, didn't read. Now, this Semantic Scholar helps you get actual summaries because they use powerful deep models, right? It helps you get the summaries of these papers, right? And then you just go through them, read the major sections. And then after getting, summaries of this paper, you know, and then you actually read the papers too as well. You read everything, scans through the paper, and then gives you robust summaries. Then you find the ones out of the 200, find maybe she found 73, and then she downloaded them, added them to her Zotero. She went to site AI and discovered citations that exist from the 73 papers PDFs or papers that she's downloaded. And then she uploaded 30 of the PDFs out of the 73 to another LLM. And then that's where conversations, contradictions, corrections began. After all, from there, she put every of those opinions she's gathered from the local LLM, from discussions and contradictions and peer reviews from online sources, and plus the opinions it generated. Then it went to Claude for final review of her draft. And then she identified weak arguments from her work. This is how she this is her flow of digital workflow. This is her entire suite of her project. As a researcher like you can decide to adapt. Okay, from these tools that exist, how do I you know how do I put together these ones that fit my workflow? How do I go about this? I may be working on a research that enables me use Claude most of the times. Like so a colleague in pharmacy told me about molecular docking. Then today someone also mentioned molecular docking. He said it's not practical, but you sweat because it is very, very complex. So in such cases, my workflow may not be the same as someone who's carrying out a wet lab analysis on the project. It may not be the same, right? And besides, you use Claude, besides you use technical tools like DeepSeek, have Claude, have Claude skills. I mean, so that's just how it goes. So the results that she cited, 73 papers were cited, verified papers actually, and the supervisor was like, this is the most thorough and the most reviewed papers I've ever seen. So if you utilize these resources very well, you get the best from them. That's the truth. But then the basics of research must be learned. You must have to take them very seriously. Like these are the basics I'm talking about. Learn how to use them. Being informed that they even exist in the first place is the first acceptance. There are more, case studies we may like to look into, like chemistry and public health. The PDF of this will be posted later. You can actually go through it, read it by yourself, and understand it and synthesize it. And then these are some of the practical skills, like I've shown us about the Google, Drive, the filter shared with me, the naming conventions, how to create documents, how to suggest, how to add comments, and then the ISO, data file, and you know how to name documents in that manner. And then our audit ID. By the time we begin publishing papers, we need to get that ID. So these are things that we should work on. These are, in fact, everybody should work on this, have an experience with this. We have been discussing with Ben over time, talking about some of these things. I was like, wow, so these things exist. And it's just very surprising to understand that some, we're talking about hyperlinks, how to hyperlink a link under a text. Many people see it but don't know how it exists. Until you know it exists and then you're interested. Like, wow, so this is it. So understanding, learning new things is a bit, it's a bit hard, but by the time you finally lay your hands on that, get a hold of it, it becomes very interesting. So your digital toolkit is now in your hands. Don't wait for your final year projects. You can start learning them today, tonight. So our to-do list is that go and register on OSIT ID, create your Google Drive projects folder, or if you don't have one, or if you plan to work on a project, just start sampling things out. Have Zotero on your, like, just download Zotero and also its browser connector. I have mine. If I click on my extensions here, I have where is it? Zotero connector. As you can see, here's mine. As you can see, it's Zotero connector. It's unable to communicate with your desktop, so I have to like reconnect it again and get things done. So we should have our Zotero because we will have a class very soon, and then on how to use Zotero, we just have now so that by the time we have that class, you wouldn't be kept behind. Then also experience the book LLM for yourself. you would enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, please come back to me. I'll and maybe I may pay you some money. Yeah. So I mean, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you've been able to learn so many things from this presentation, and I really hope that it be the best you heard so far on digital literacy. Thank you very much. So I'll be welcoming questions. If none, then we call it a day. Thank you very much. So yeah, do you have questions? Questions. You can unmute your mic and ask questions if you have them. All right, Viviana, I can see you're here. Vincent, Jamok, how are you doing, my friend? Hope your IT is going on well. I mean, we're currently on IT. Hope it's going on well. Do you have any questions as regards the class that we just had? How is it? And let me check other users want this call. Yeah, profile.
Good evening.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, Viviana. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Please, I wanted to ask, you said there are three things and that we should check before using AI. And you mentioned the last one. Is it contradict? I didn't get the first two you mentioned.
Oh yeah, on site AI, right? If you go there
Yeah.
and you're looking for citations, like the credibility of citations, you check three things: supporting, mentioning, or contradicting. Do you get it now?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Vincent, do you have a question for us? Do you have any confirmation on the class and
Yeah, good
something you'd like
evening.
to receive? Yeah, good evening, my chief.
Well done. How is your IT now?
Yeah, it's going on well. Thank God. How is it going on your end?
Very fine.
All good. Good to know.
I'm sorry I joined late, but I next time I'll join early sharp.
All right, it's all good. It's no problem.
Yeah.
But although you can actually the class is being recorded, so you would have at the end of the day we'll post the link, so you may begin watching from the start up until when
Oh,
you join.
okay,
Yes,
okay. All right.
yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
thank
much.
Okay.
I'm glad to
you.
see you here. I'm very
Thank
it's very good to see you.
you. Yeah, I'm glad. To.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. All right, Dr. Van, it's your floor.
All right. Dr. Hendricks, thank you so much for this insightful and impactful session.
Thank you very
Honestly,
much.
we truly appreciate you for your time, for the knowledge, and then for sharing your experiences with us today um, on digital literacy and on how to collaborate using digital tools. Right. As a matter of fact, your explanations were practical, they were engaging, and they were very relevant, especially in today's digital world where teamwork and then online collaboration are becoming increasingly important. And I believe everyone here must have learned something valuable today in this webinar. So, on behalf of everyone present, I want to sincerely say thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. So a sign of I missed any more contributions. We call it a day. And thank you very much for joining this session.
Thank you.